Colorado heads to Pullman this weekend. Ryan, just 2 more games. The season's quickly coming to an end here. Coming off last week, I think everyone's going to have their eyes on Cade Apsay to see what he can kind of have in terms of an encore. We were both kind of rough on him. I know at one point I had made the comment that I didn't think he was a Pac-12 caliber quarterback. We come to find out, though, after the game and talking more with Cade Apsay this week and talking with Mike McIntyre, and it makes more sense now of why he kind of turned the corner. This was somebody, a California kind of laid-back kid that comes out here and really didn't go all in on trying to improve as a football player until preseason camp, and he's made some strides. We got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, thanks to Cade for being honest there to give us kind of an out, because when we saw him early in fall camp and in spring and going back to last year, he didn't look like he had it. We don't have any narratives that we're trying to fit. We just call it like we see it. And to find out that he kind of turned a corner mentally between the ears and get it going on the football field, credit where credit's due. Good for him. He looked very confident out there, and he seems like a confident kid just in general. And that's kind of something you like to see out of a quarterback. So I think that's great for him. Now going into this week, of course, there's the toughness of going out there for your first time in a game where you're just throwing in an injury. But it's also a little bit easier because the other team doesn't have any film on you. So it'll be interesting to see this week if Washington State saw some things in his game that they can expose, or if Cade can go out there and replicate that performance.
Just going real quickly back to last week, I've had a couple people ask me this week if I thought that Colorado would have won that football game had Sefo Liufau stayed healthy. And frankly, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't think you can say definitively if Sefo's healthy, because there's some plays Cade Apsay made that maybe Sefo doesn't, and then maybe vice versa with some of those sacks that he took. I can't say definitively that they would have played any better if Sefo was out there in that football game.
Yeah, you want to say yes because he was playing so well. I mean, he was really on that night. But always in your head is going to be that Sefo doesn't have that closer gene, the one who goes out there and makes the big play at the right time. So it's impossible to know, obviously, but you can't make a definitive statement there just because he was playing so well and you love that, but then you know that he might have been prone to make a big mistake at a certain time.
This week going up against Luke Falk, who ranks first in the country in passing yards. This is a guy that's just really efficient in that Mike Leach offense, really smart guy. Was actually recruited as a walk-on to campus there in Pullman. He kind of switched around high schools and was overlooked as a recruit. Last week, it looks like he suffers not only a concussion, but a very severe concussion. He's crawling on the turf, and yet he comes out in the second half, apparently clears all the concussion tests. How shocked were you that he was back in that football game, and do you think this is an issue going into this week?
Yeah, it was concerning to me. I even tweeted about it because you see the shot on the sidelines of him kind of shaking his head and not really being there. The two doctors kind of look at each other, shake their heads, take his helmet away, and at that point you think, okay, he's done. And then he comes out in the second half, and I was kind of distracted watching in the background, and I saw number 4 out there, and I was like, wait, what? Because it felt uncomfortable to me, but I mean, we can't jump to any conclusions. If they say you passed the protocol at halftime, we kind of have to take their word for that. This week, I think it was something to keep an eye on early, but they haven't really said anything coming out of Washington State about him having a concussion. I thought it might be one of those things where they're like, oh yeah, we tested him after the game, and he actually did come up positive for a concussion. So it's not much to look for, but from a Buff standpoint, if you were able to get some hits on him and get him out of that game, I think you feel pretty good, because when their backup came in, he didn't look so hot.
Good news for Colorado in the fact that Akella Witherspoon will be back. He was knocked out of that USC game. You're going to need a lot of defensive backs out there. Washington State ranks first in the country with 6 different receivers with more than 20 catches this season. They've got 3 guys in the Pac-12 that rank in the top 6 in receptions. That's kind of crazy. It's less crazy when you look at Mike Leach's system and kind of how they produce crazy numbers like that seemingly every year. I think it's important for Colorado that they're relatively healthy as a defense, aside from Ryan Moeller going in this week, because you're going to have to rotate a lot of bodies out there, especially expected to be pretty cold temperatures out there, and you're going to be out there as a defense for a lot of plays in this game.
Yeah, when you told me that stat before this, that they had 6 receivers with 20 catches, I said I wouldn't be surprised if they had 6 receivers with 20 catches in a game. It just seems like they throw it 100 times a game, and your secondary, it really comes down to tackling. They're going to get those catches underneath you. The problem is, when they catch that quick slant, you have to be the corner to make that tackle right there, because the safety is coming up to defend another quick route, and then all of a sudden he's gone. So you're going to have to live with getting dink and dunked a little bit. For you to have success, though, you just have to make sure you tackle them, get them short of the sticks, and get them into 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, because they're absolutely going to complete a ton of balls on you.
Be easy to spotlight Colorado's secondary for this game. It'd be easy to spotlight Cade Apsay because all eyes are going to be on him. I'm actually going to spotlight the running backs because this is a Washington State defense that's given up more than 200 yards on the ground per game. And you have success on the ground, it takes a lot of the pressure off Cade Apsay. This is a Washington State defense that's last in the conference in terms of opponent third down conversion percentage. Nearly 50% of the time, opposing teams are getting that first down on third down against this defense. You're going to ask Cade Apsay the short to intermediate routes to be accurate in those. That just happens to be his strength as a quarterback. That's good. Pound the rock, similar to UCLA, I think is the kind of the game plan you need to have with that Patrick Carr, Philip Lindsay, and Donovan Lee kind of three-headed monster there at running back. I think that's the key to this football game.
Well, you kind of outed me. I guess I'm taking the easy way out here because I have to go to Cade Apsay. It's just, for me, for them to win this game, they're going to have to put up big numbers, and you're not going to be able to do that solely running the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. I predict them to get down a little bit in this game, which means they're going to want to throw the ball even more. And for me, he has nothing to lose. And there's to me, I feel like there's no pressure on him. Everyone's kind of polling for him to do well. There's no expectations. He's the backup quarterback. If he goes out there and lays an egg, everyone says, well, it was the backup quarterback. For me, so it's all opportunity for him, and he could really go out there and make some noise and make a name for himself in this game. So I'm really interested to see what he does. They're going to send some blitzes at him. Maybe the Buffs get the screen game going for the first time all year.
I think they will a little bit more with Apsay. That's going to be one of his strengths.
Yeah,
sure.
So he's good at kind of those little short touch passes, and he's extremely accurate. If you ask any person that was in this bubble today about Cade Apsay, the first word they're going to say is accurate. So I'm interested to see. To me, it's the most intriguing storyline of the game, just to see how he's going to do.
And Washington State has had really poor special teams units since Mike Leach has been there. Again this year, they rank last in the conference in punting and kickoff coverage. Ryan, we've been joking in the press box. Colorado has seemingly been so close to breaking a kickoff return for a touchdown. At least I don't even know if we can count it on our hands anymore in terms of the number of times they've been one more missed tackle or one more block away from really breaking free there. Donovan Lee, I'm going to make a prediction here. Donovan Lee is going to take one to the house on Saturday night.
That's a big prediction.
Not if you consider how bad Washington State's special teams units are.
Yeah, it seems like every single kick we just look at each other like, there's another one. So, that's a good prediction.
All right, in terms of the game prediction, Vegas thinks this is going to be kind of a blowout in Washington State's favor. I don't know if it's the fact that Colorado has played Mike Leach teams traditionally close, even dating back to his Texas Tech days, that make me think this is going to be a close game, or just the simple fact that when you look at these two teams, what's been the big difference between these two teams? Washington State's been able to make a play down the stretch when they needed one. Sure, they missed a field goal against Stanford, but this has been a relatively clutch team this season. Whereas Colorado, aside from the Oregon State game, they haven't been clutch in those situations. So that's the difference. I covered Washington State recruiting for a while. Ryan, there's not, from top to bottom on the roster, they don't have more talent than Colorado does. Sure, they've got guys, pass catchers that fit their system, a really good quarterback, but Colorado, man-to-man, can match up with this football team. I can't pick them, though, to win this game because of that clutch factor. I'm going to say Washington State wins 41-38.
Yeah, you laid it out. CU's been able to compete with the teams with the top talent in the league this year, and Washington State, while they're having a great year, isn't one of those teams. Man-to-man, they match up pretty well. It's the system, though, and that's kind of what scares you is all their players fit the system, and that's why it's working for them this year. All they need is a quarterback who can get the ball out quick and some receivers who can run good short routes. And then once in a while, they're going to gash you over the top, and it works perfectly for them. But like you said, 15 points coming out of Vegas seems like way too much. Just the way that CU's played and competed this year, I think they cover that. But like you, I think they fall just short, and I'm going to say 44-40.
Wazoo is one of the cooler abbreviations, Mizzou and Wazoo. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. You've been hating on these opponents a lot with their mascots and their nicknames. That's one cool thing we can kind of point out about the Cougars.
That is cool. And also I like the way the Palouse rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
They've got a very verbally friendly area up there.
Well, you can say what you want to about Pullman and kind of its remote location, but I've been there to cover a game. They get pretty rowdy in there. I'm sure the fans are all going to be bundled up for this game. They're not going to be maybe clapping as loud, but I think their voices are going to be heard. It's kind of a hostile environment. You go to some of these Southern California schools with the laid-back fans, you really don't get that. This can be a really tough place to play at.
Yeah, I kind of compare it to like the Lawrence of the Pac-12. It's in the middle of nowhere. They don't have too much football tradition traditionally, but it's an awesome town, and maybe KU doesn't have quite the football fans that Wazoo does, but it just those two kind of compare well for me. I wish I was going up there. I love going to those little like niche college towns, and it's always a great time.
And it's going to be another one of those really late start times, so make sure you get that nap in on Saturday afternoon. Maybe have some college football on in the background. Those are always the best naps, when you can kind of get up out of your haze a little bit and see the score, and then kind of nod back off. But
I'm all about the golf nap, the Sunday golf nap in the football off season. It's just the way they talk is so soothing. You just crash.
The one thing you can say, and not that any of us want Sefo Liufau to be hurt, but it kind of adds a little bit of excitement for these last two games. What can Kate Apsay bring to the mix? I'm kind of looking forward to that. So I hope you do as well.